Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming out to join us. Those who know me, my name is Rabbi Klubanoff. I have the privilege of serving here in Eitz Chaim, and this is really a very, very important gathering for me personally and for our shul collectively. When I first came here 12 years ago, and it kind of renewed my, I wouldn't say interest, but really awareness of Israel bonds. I didn't know it was still a thing. I thought that's something you get at your bar mitzvah and that's it. And then, you cash it in a few years later. And because of our lay leadership here, I got fairly involved. I became the chair of the Rabbinic Advisory Council, the National Council, and here on our local board. But really the straw that stirs the drink was Lee. And it was a combination of our lay leadership, but also his just pleasant demeanor and his way of, when he spoke to you, of your inability to say no. So we're here at the Shloshim, various stages of mourning, and even though we find ourselves in a national mourning period, we're in the 3 weeks as we get ready for the worst day of the year, which is Tisha B'Av. And for us, for our community, it's a community of mourning, and we're pleased to have Lee's family here. We're pleased to have Chana here, and to the entire family, to Eitan, to Adam, and to Ariella, to Liam, Amalia, Nadav, and Livia, and to the whole mishpacha. You know that you're always part of our mishpacha. I'm also pleased to see my colleague, Rabbi Pupko, is here, who got his passport stamped for Bergen County to come to Essex County. Really, really quite meaningful. So we're just going to have a number of words of tribute to mark the Shloshim. And I'll get to it at the end, but when I told this is the perfect sort of, how do you picture Lee? So when I heard that Lee passed away, which was just a crushing blow, and because he fought so valiantly for so long, and I told my kids, and my now high school graduate, she said, "Wait, is he the one that gave me a ride to Englewood once?" I said, "Yes." But there's more, because my daughter and her friend needed a ride to Englewood, and they said, "Wait, I know Lee Schwartz." I called him up, and they said, "Yeah." And they said, "Yes, he took us in his convertible, and he had the top down the whole way, and our hair was like out to here, and we had to listen to his old person music." But it was so if that's a way that a teenager would remember Lee Schwartz, I mean, how great is that? And we just thought it would be fitting if we begin the program tonight. Of course, this is our shul, and all of us very much invested in what happens in Israel on a daily basis, of course, through Israel bonds, but also through our daily dedication. So I'll ask everybody to please rise and recite the prayer for Medinat Yisrael. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo, Borechas Medinas Yisrael, Reishis Michas Geulasenu. Hagen Aleh Bevras Chastecha, Ufros El Esikav Shalamecha, Ushlach Archav Amitcha L'Rasheha Sarev Yatzeha, V'Sakanim B'Eitzat Savom Milafanecha. Hazek as Yidim Gnei Earth Kochenim An Kelem Elahenu Yeshua, Ater Tzitzachon Teatrem, V'Nasato Shalom Baretz V'Simchas Elam Liyasheveha. V'Yesachenu Kol Beis Yisrael V'Kodem B'Chlar Tzos Bezurehem, V'Solichem Meheira Kamamis L'Tzion Yirechev L'Yishalayim Mishkan Shemecha. Kakasuv B'Saras Moshe Avdecha, Im Yihya Nidachacha B'Ktzei Hashemayim, Yishamek Abetzcha L'Nei Elohecha, Mishamek Kachecha. V'Heviacha L'Nei Elohecha L'Aretz Asher Yoshto V'Secha V'Rishta, V'Hitivecha V'Hir B'Cham Yavasecha. V'Yachid Levavenu Li'Havo L'Yira Shemecha, L'Shmor Es Kol Divrei Sarasecha, U'Shlach Lanu Meheira Ben David Mashiach Tzikech, Liftos Mechakei Ketz Yishuasecha. V'Ofa B'Hadarka Onuzecha, Akol Yoshevei Sevil Artzach V'Yamar, Kol Asher Neshama V'Yapo, Adonai Elohe Yisrael Melech, Achosov B'Chol Mashallah. Amen. Selah. You may be seated. So who would have thunk that in our little town of Livingston, that not only we have an Israel Bonds office, but we have basically 99%, I think, of the lay leadership in the National Council comes or has come or is from Livingston. And it gives me a great honor and pleasure to introduce former president of our shul, but the current international board, national and international chairman of the board, Dr. Andy Hutter. Say a few words.
The other reason we said the prayer for Israel, so I could stand up and not have to get up now.
It's a little strategic, yeah.
Make me look good.
And this is being recorded, by the way, so just, I guess, watch what you say.
Well, now you do.
I'm just going to say the monitor in case anybody comes.
Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate everybody showing up. This is such a nice crowd for Lee. First and foremost, I need to bring you greetings from Donnie Nevet, our CEO. Many of you know Donnie has been in Israel for the last few weeks. His house took a direct hit from a missile from Iran, was completely destroyed. Thank God his kids were in their bomb shelter, FaceTiming with him as they always did whenever they went to the bomb shelter. And thank God everybody is safe. The house is what it is, but he's now got his family settled in a new home in the same community. And Donnie will be flying back here on Sunday to join us and work normal hours. We've had him working in the middle of the night because we haven't stopped. So I want to make sure he want to make my board the greetings. One of the things that I say as chairman of the board is that I am so proud to be from this community. We have, with due respect to some of the other executive directors that are here, Harold, who's, we have the best lay leader group in the entire country. We are the model for the rest of the country. And I tell people that at the national meetings. I've been telling that as long as I've been on the board. And one of two things happens with everybody in this room. Either you got roped into Israel bonds because of Lee Schwartz, or you started with Israel bonds and you were not allowed to leave because of Lee Schwartz. And you're going to hear the same things over and over again. But I got started when a little more than 20 years ago, my father and I were honored, and I was asked to stay on in the medical division, blah, 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 grew on for other things. But Lee took me under his wing. And I had mentors such as Alan Janoff and Alan Pines and David Halpern, who really got me involved. But Lee really took me under his wing and showed me how to interact not only with the lay leaders, but with staff and everything else. And he set me up and really helped groom me for the position that I'm in today. And I'll always be grateful for that. And Lee was always so excited. Every time something happened to me in Israel bonds, he called me. He was so excited and he was thrilled to be there. And it was always great to talk to him on the phone, except when you needed to finish the phone call. Lee's probably still talking right now. He doesn't know how to hang up the phone. But if that's the worst thing we can say about Lee, that's a great thing. Because I grew up, my grandmother was totally the opposite. My grandmother would call on the phone, tell you what she had to talk about, hang up. I'd be talking for another 5 or 6 minutes, realizing that she didn't give a darn what I was saying. She'd say what she had to say and hung up. So it was kind of nice to have somebody listen to me for a long time. And so that's my Lee story for that. But all of us are here because of that. And as I said, I learned Israel bonds from Lee. And there's going to be a lot of people talking tonight. I was always taken back because he kept telling me how proud he was of me. And, you know, that was Lee. Lee didn't really need the accolades from anybody else. You know, you thanked him and you told him, but Lee, we have, you know, you work in a private practice like I do. I had a passion for what I did. You work in a big company, people work in a big company, but Lee didn't work for Israel. You know, they talk about Tommy Lasorda bleeding Dodger blue. Lee Schwartz bled Israel blue. He lived this. This was not a job to him. This was a calling. When he started in APAC, then he came to bonds. And I dare say again, Harold, I'm sorry, because you're right up there with him. And I know what you did with Warren Buffett for us. But the amount of money that Lee raised over 25 years is right up there with anybody that's ever worked for this company. And it was my honor to work with Lee. It was my honor to be trained by Lee, and it will be my duty to carry on his legacy and make sure that as I work with other people in Israel bonds, that I teach them about Lee Schwartz, because you're only as good as where you come from. And in this day and age, too many people forget where they came from and who got them there. And I will never forget Lee Schwartz for what he has done for me and what he's done for this organization and what he's done for Israel bonds. So thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this organization.
Thank you, Andy. You know what? We're really proud of you. Although you talk always about your involvement in Israel bonds because of doing something together with your father, and how great you can see Andy's mom is here, right? How are you? Nice to see you, right? Does he have a lot of knocks? Aren't you proud of him? Yes, we're very, very proud of him. We're next going to hear from, I don't know, it says here Larry, I don't know if anybody named it Larry, but Lisa Rothenberg, our national board member, our current chair here in Metro West, also former president of a time and active member of the Kiddush Club. Yes.
He gets up there with no notes and speaks so eloquently, it's hard to follow that. But when I think about Lee Schwartz, the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm not sure if anyone else has had this experience, it was his unbridled enthusiasm. Has anyone else ever experienced his enthusiasm? Yeah, everyone has. Lee was always enthusiastic. If I walked into Israel Bonds, Lee was enthusiastic, and boy, was he ever enthusiastic about Israel Bonds. If we were meeting to go see some music, because we both love music, if we're going to see Fish at Madison Square Garden, Lee was incredibly enthusiastic. No matter what it was, enthusiasm was Lee Schwartz. The dictionary defines enthusiasm as a feeling of energetic interest in a particular subject or activity and an eagerness to be involved in it. It should have had Lee's name right there, because that describes Lee Schwartz down to a T. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs describes the importance of enthusiasm, and I quote, "People with enthusiasm have passion, zest, and excitement, and this can be contagious. It is one of the gifts of a great teacher or leader. People follow people of passion. If you want to cultivate others, cultivate enthusiasm," end quote. It was Lee's enthusiasm, in my opinion, that made him such a great leader.
I'd like to ask Howie Cohen, past chair of Metro New Jersey, also Livingston, Cedar Hill.
Yeah, the temple.
Okay, we're all one big family.
Yes. This is hard for me. Lee was a dear friend. I'm gonna start off, I asked Hannah if it was okay. I can only get this right.
It's okay.
It's okay? All right. I'm gonna start off, if my technology works right. No connection, that's even good. All right, well, I tried. Wait, hold on, let's see. It's a video Lee made for me when I was being honored. And if I had a connection, I would do it, but Lee was more than a dear friend. I had the honor of working with Lee, being by his side, by each other, caring about each other's physical health over more than 2 decades. Whenever I had my challenges, Lee was right there, calling me, worrying about me. For the past year and a half, I tried to be there for Lee as much as I could, talking to him. And probably the most important thing I could say tonight is, you know what he always said? How much he missed being with the Israel Bond family from Metro West. He missed not being in the office. He missed being with everybody here. So as he fought his battle, which he did so courageously, that's what he missed besides his family. But Lee gave as much as he received to everyone. As Andy said, you know, he was full of love, warmth, and the biggest challenge I'll leave you with tonight, as said it again, is what we could pay tribute to Lee is by carrying on all traditions that he started, making us one of the strongest communities in New Jersey and in the country. And there will always be a hole in my heart. I love you, Lee.
Next, Mel is here. Mel. Mel Jacobs, chair of Beth Shalom Campaign for Israel Bonds, Livingston, New Jersey.
This is also difficult for me. Good evening. How do I try to do justice in expressing how I feel about my friend Lee Schwartz, whose dynamism, effervescence, love, and caring, not only about his family and about Israel, but extending to his friends, a category of relationship which I'm so proud to state that I so savored in belonging. The benefits of friendship are much appreciated in Jewish tradition. In fact, in Ecclesiastes, it is written, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. But if they fail, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falls, for he has not another to help him. Indeed, friendship is more than a casual social connection in the Jewish context. Friends like Lee offer loyalty, protection, support, unselfish love, and sometimes even moral guidance. In addition, how much fun was it to be around Lee, smiling, laughing, complimenting his friends on their accomplishments, making one feel that you were the greatest person in the world. This was the gift of Lee, and it was a beautiful one that kept on giving. I first met Lee almost immediately after he commenced his tenure with Israel Bonds about 25 or 26 years ago. At that time, and hard to believe now, I was still considered young leadership at the time. I don't know, so that was a stretch even then, I think. So Lee particularly wanted to cultivate some younger advocates for Israel and Israel Bonds. Having already gone to missions with Bonds and having already chaired one or two Bond events at Temple Beth Shalom, Lee and I formed an instant camaraderie. So the story goes as follows. Lee tells me that there's going to be a very informal gathering of a few Bonds professionals from around the country meeting at a venue near Newark Airport. And would I participate at this casual roundtable discussion with a few other lay people and these professional staffers to tell them about how I became involved with Bonds, et cetera, et cetera. I responded, if this is what is expected, okay, great. And Lee was so appreciative and thankful that I had accepted. Well, on the stated date, I go to the venue, and there are maybe 100 professional Israel Bond staffers, and I am prominently seated at a table on this huge dais with my name displayed in front of me. Lee leads over to me and says, Mel, I didn't know about this massive convocation in this large ballroom, but in any event, could you please now possibly speak for about 4 or 5 minutes? Sorry about the surprise, but you will be great. Nothing to worry about. I looked at him, but so without any formal preparation or speech, from that central podium, looking out on this vast audience, I just started talking randomly about whatever came into my mind about my experience, hoping for the best. Later, much to my surprise, I managed to get really tremendous applause and many compliments from Lee and from the assemblage. And I still remember Lee slapping me on the back, his face beaming like a proud father. Looking back now, that was probably the first situation that served to sear and forge our friendship, which connection only continued to blossom and deepen over the years. By the way, I reminded my friend Lee about this incident over the years, and we always heartily laughed when reminiscing about it. One other kind of funny anecdote, which surely must be unique, as follows. When Linda and I were honored by Israel Bonds back in 2012, the national event took place, I believe, at the Breakers Hotel. I'm not quite sure, in Palm Beach. Okay, I said to my friend Lee, hey Lee, they have a great sauna and men's spa at the resort hotel. Let's indulge for a few hours there before the evening event. Although this whole scenario was absolutely terra incognita for Lee, he somewhat uneasily, it seemed to me, did agree to trying out this unfamiliar experience. Both of us, dare I say, in this temple, we were new together. Yeah, I know it's cavorting in and out of various plunge pools, steam saunas, etc. Friends, if that is not some kind of profound bonding experience, pun intended, then I do not know what would be. Of course, as in so many aspects, Lee was such a good sport, always a zany spirit. We had many laughs about that experience, both then and indeed over the years since, whenever we would recall that crazy day. On a more serious note, in conclusion, Lee was the consummate professional, a devoted friend to me and to Linda, open, encouraging, caring, and someone who made you feel better just by his radiant presence, unstintingly devoted to Israel, and finally, who was a magnificent friend to so many, and especially to me. I do will miss Lee dearly, as do we all. Gather tonight an affectionate memorial to this great and good man. Thank you.
Mel, thanks for being so open. I really appreciate that. Next, we're gonna hear from another Livingston resident. My good friend Celine Leeds, who currently serves as the executive director of JNF for Central New Jersey, but of course, as we know, ran our bonds office for so many years working here. Celine.
I'm gonna try to keep my composure. Exactly. So, thank you, Rabbi, for introducing me. As many of you know, I had the privilege of working closely with Lee at Israel Bonds for 17 years. It's hard to believe that. During that time, we shared many meaningful moments, both in the New York City office and later here in Metro New Jersey. In life, we don't always get the chance to fully express how much someone means to us. But 8 years ago, when I left Bonds, literally today is my 8-year anniversary that I left, I had the opportunity to convey these words to Lee at our annual tribute dinner, which many of you were at. Lee, you are my friend, my mentor, and so much more. You were truly the most supportive boss I could have asked for. As a working mother, you always understood the need for balance and empowered me to reach my goals. With Adela and Alex, my office sisters, we work together beautifully and seamlessly every day. I will miss each of you and our special bond terribly. I'm so grateful for what we shared and proud of all that we accomplished together. That was Lee, understanding, kind, endlessly generous, and somehow never saying no to even my craziest ideas. And I know today I would not be the professional I am without Lee's constant support and his serving as a role model to me and countless others. And even after I left Bonds, every time we spoke or we got together for lunch, Lee would reflect on our friendship and take the time to express his gratitude. Those conversations that you're talking about where he never stopped talking, but he did the best thing. He expressed himself, and that meant the world to me. And I will always carry those words with me. Now, while I know Israel Bonds is not technically a charity and I don't work for you anymore, so I can say whatever I want. There's a well-known saying in the philanthropic world. We say people give to people. So what does that mean? That was never truer than with Lee. Everything he built here in Metro West with all of you was rooted in these deep relationships, friendships, and genuine connections. And that is why this region is consistently at the forefront of Israel Bonds' success. It's because of the passion, the dedication, the heart that Lee poured into his work, alongside the incredible team of professionals and lay leaders he inspired. We've heard that theme over and over. Looking around this room tonight, I see the results of this amazing community. Lee left a lasting imprint on everyone he encountered. My prayer tonight is that his legacy will live on through Hannah and their beautiful family and each one of us who had the honor of knowing him. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Noah Marcus next, Executive Director of our office here. Ish. By the way, Celine, you're getting a call from compliance. They're just, yeah.
Jordan couldn't make it. I'd like to thank Alan Pines, the committee, Alan, Debbie Janoff, Howie Cohen, Andy Hutter, and Laser for putting this together, for Lee, and thank you, Rabbi Klubanoff, for hosting us as always. Like many of you, I am here at Israel Bonds because of Lee Schwartz. I met Lee many years ago at my wife's grandmother Shiva. I was in the process of interviewing with Stu in New York for a job at Israel Bonds. And when I told Lee about this, his face immediately lit up with joy. And he said, "Great, you're going to get the job." Lee worked very hard and enthusiastic to make sure I got that job. Then once I was in New York, he would call, check in on me, help me, try to introduce me to people, and really make sure I was successful at the job. Then a few years later, after I knew a little bit about how to sell bonds, Lee decided it was time to come to New Jersey and work for him. Thank you, Celine. During my time in New Jersey with Lee, I noticed a real repetitive trend with Lee, almost really a second job. Lee networked insatiably in the Jewish community, and he would find people that needed jobs, and he would find Jewish organizations that had jobs, and he would marry these people together. It was the greatest gift. He not only gave the person looking for a new role, a job and livelihood, but he gave himself a tremendous gift in the joy and pride he felt. Always checking in with them to make sure they landed okay at the new role and looking for ways that he can help them be successful. In culmination of these efforts, Lee was recognized a few years ago as an honoree of Project Ezra, a nonprofit that practiced the highest form of charity, helping a person become self-sufficient by connecting people with jobs. This is why, in his memory, I have donated an Israel bond to Project Ezra. So his work at Israel Bonds and his passion for helping people in need lives on forever. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Stu Garowitz, our National VP for Sales. Somebody had to wear a tie, so thanks. I've never seen without a tie, so.
Wow, can't believe we're here and I can't believe we're doing this. Seems that Lee should still be here and we should still be interacting with him, right, Hannah? That's how we all feel. Andy conveyed Danny's message earlier, and I know I spoke to him earlier this morning, and he certainly sends his sympathies, condolences, Hannah and Adam and the whole family. Rabbi, it's a pleasure to see you. I would like to start, though, and thank everybody who put this together. It was a lot of our office in Metro, many of our lay leaders, but I would like to give Alan Pines a tremendous shout out. I think we have done it for that. So I'd like to start off by simply saying it's really, again, I wish we weren't here, but it's an honor and privilege to be here and celebrate really a true mensch. He's a man who's dedicated 26 years to Israel Bonds and supporting the state of Israel, and whose impact will be felt far beyond that of Metro New Jersey. His leadership over these years produced sales of over $2 billion. Not too shabby, right? Lee Schwartz was the kind of person who walked into a room and you just felt better. There was a lightness about him, a warmth. But as we all know, Lee could stretch a 5-minute update into a 3-act play. But the truth is, that was the charm, that was his magic. And you had to know that. He didn't just talk, he listened. He made you feel that what you were saying mattered. And because of him, and to him, it did. Now, Lee started his journey with Israel Bonds here in New Jersey, then took a brief detour into New York. But as he told me, the bagels were equally as good in New Jersey as they were in New York, so he decided to come back. And for the last 16 years, he's really built something very, very special. He was smart, he was kind-hearted, he always had a smile on his face, and he always assumed the best in people, even when maybe he shouldn't have. But I think we've all been there. He loved our lay leaders, he loved his colleagues, and you all loved him back, and he knew it. But make no mistake, Lee could get fired up. If you've ever seen Lee get fired up, Anna's smiling, she's laughing. And I've seen that Schwartz spark once or twice, believe me. But then, of course, was his deep and abiding love for his wife, Hannah, and his 2 boys, Eitan and Adam. I don't think you could talk to Lee for more than 10 minutes without hearing a story about his family. He loved his job, he loved being Jewish, he loved Israel. And somehow, through the pressure and goals, he never, ever lost his sense of humor. And right there, that's a gift. It's a gift I totally appreciate and admire. For 26 years, Lee didn't just oversee the sale of Israel Bonds. He oversaw relationships. He built bridges and he brought people together. And if you ask me, that's the kind of leadership we need more of today in business, in public service, and in life. We will miss his passion, his presence, and his patience. And we want to thank him for proving you can be both a professional and a mensch at the same time. You can work hard, laugh loud, and lead with your heart. But we're going to miss him, and we'll keep his spirit close. And when someone gives a 30-minute answer to a yes or no question, we'll smile and say, that's classic Lee. I want to thank you all for paying the tribute to this wonderful human being and showing the love in the room. Thank you very much.
Now I'm gonna ask Lisa and Adam.
First, I just have to say, I know my dad would have gotten such nachas from tonight. But I also think he'd be laughing a little bit seeing me up here giving what's basically an Israel bond pitch in his honor. You know, as someone spent over 2 decades here doing this, and he'd be very proud, probably offer me some pointers and tips afterwards just to make sure I got it right. But that was him. He cared and he believed so deeply in what this organization represents. To my dad, as someone mentioned, it wasn't just a job, it was his mission. His colleagues here became his family, lay leaders, clients, all of them valued partners in what became his life's passion. And what always stood out to me was the respect he showed everyone he worked with. It didn't matter if you were a major investor or someone buying their first bond. He took the time to listen, understand you, make you feel valued. He didn't rush people and he didn't cut corners. And that wasn't only about work. It's truly who he was. He believed in treating people with genuine respect, valuing relationships, showing up and doing what you said you'd do. You know, he also had such a strong sense of purpose. He knew supporting Israel wasn't just an idea, it was something you did. He loved talking about Israel, sharing stories, my kids, visiting, encourage others to see why it mattered so much. And he was just so proud that through his work, he was helping build homes, roads, and schools in the future of Jewish people in Israel. You know, but it wasn't only about Israel far away. It was about the community here, and he built connections. He brought people in. He made you feel like you were part of something important because to him, you were. So when I think about his legacy, that's what stands out. The respect he showed people and the way he connected with them, the way he connected to Israel, and the trust he built. You know, for over 2 decades at Israel Bonds, he wasn't just selling bonds, he was building bonds between people, and that's something lasting. So on behalf of our family, my mother, my brother, thank you very much for remembering him tonight, for recognizing what the work meant to him, and for continuing the mission that he cared so much about.
I want to try a little exercise with me. Close your eyes for a second. And in your mind's eye, I want you to picture Lee. And you know he's smiling. And see if you can also conjure up a conversation that you had with him. You can hear his voice. Struggling to get those first sentences out. Like, what's this about? But hear his voice, see his smile, and tell me that doesn't make you happy. We're going to come back to this to see what Lee meant to each and every one of us. So I came across, one of my colleagues shared with me a eulogy that he gave for his shul president, something that not me, but a lot of my colleagues aspire to do this. For some reason, rabbis and shul presidents. And he's just saying. And there's a Gemara in Bava Basra and Daf Tzadi Aleph Amud Aleph. And the Gemara says as follows: Amar Rav Chanan bar Rav Amar Rav. Oso hayom shenifter Avraham Avinu min ha'olam, amdu kol gedolei umas ha'olam b'shura. He said that the day that Abraham, our patriarch, the day that Abraham died, all the leaders of the world, he was a world-renowned figure, all the leaders of the world, they lined up, v'amru, Oilo la'olam she'avad manhigo, v'oilo l'sfina she'avad kavarnita. He says, woe is to the world that has lost its leader, and woe is to the ship that has lost its captain. And the rabbis ask, why do we need 2 descriptions? A leader, a captain. And simply put, that people who are in leadership positions affect you in different ways. People lead in different ways. As a matter of fact, in this coming week's Parsha, when Moshe is told that, again, that he's not going to be going into the land of Israel, and Hashem says you have to appoint a successor. So he says you have to appoint Ish asher ruach acheres bo, someone who has an otherly spirit to him, someone who has that it quality. But people lead and people affect in different ways, which is why when you think of Lee, you're going to think of him, well, he led me because he was my great friend. He always made me feel so good about myself. Every conversation I had with him, he made me feel like as I was the best rabbi in the whole world. And who am I to argue? And every conversation we had about our community and our lay leaders, we made me feel like I'm so lucky to be able to be in this community with these lay leaders of what we're doing for the state of Israel, we're doing for the Jewish people, the future of the Jewish people. Think about it. Someone who had not one, but two lengthy careers in serving the Jewish people. 2 20+ year careers. Who does that? 20 is enough, but who does it twice? Or you're going to think that he led because you know what? He was just your great friend. And he genuinely cared about you. And he made you appreciate the loved ones in your life because you saw how he treated the loved ones in his life, his friends. Oh, and then when he talked about his family, when he talked about Hannah and his whole family, oh, and he would always tell me about spicy food that he couldn't pronounce, but he liked it anyway. And he told me that he was Sephardic rabbi. You have to come to our synagogue, to the Ben Roy Sephardic Center in Avatar of Englewood. You have to say the whole thing. We have our own Kiddush room. And Rabbi, you have to say, because I don't understand a word of what they're saying in the prayers, but I love it. Because I'm an honorary Sephardi. How he would talk about that. Or how he would talk about music. How he would talk about his beloved Saab or Volvo convertibles. How he would talk about the loved ones in his life. And I got to see something really, really special a while back. Is that something outside of Lee I had never seen. You see, my son and his grandson are the same age. And they play in this hockey league, this floor hockey league in TABC. It's called TABC Junior. And I'm bringing my son to a game when there, and lo and behold, I see Lee and Khaled. I couldn't believe it. Like, and he wasn't well. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he says to me, what are you doing here? I said, my son's playing because my grandson's playing. And I had seen him smile 1,000 times. But I never, ever saw that smile of seeing a grandson playing in sports. And when I heard the eulogies given at the funeral, it all made sense. He never, ever missed a game. And then his son came in and said, look, I have a picture of our sons together. Unbelievable. Like, we're shrinking the world one at a time. But if we think about the impact that one single individual can have, and we have seen in front of us the impact that Lee has had on the lives of so many that knew him, but also the lives of so many that will never, ever know him. That figure, that Stu that you mentioned, it's just unbelievable. And what is able to be accomplished through our hard work, and that's something that we all need to continue. So when we think of Lee, we say, you know what, we've lost a leader. We've also lost a captain. Because to each of us, Lee was something else. Maybe he was multiple things. But we've lost a loved one. To me, I lost a friend, a confidant, someone who inspired me, someone who really was the paradigm of what it means to be involved in Jewish service. And someone who single-handedly changed the face of the state of Israel and the Jewish people. Someone in whom we should be a tremendous awe. And to us, it's a tremendous honor to have Lee and Khan and your whole family as part of not only the Eitz Chaim family, but the Metro S family, and will always, always be that way. So we say that may his memory be for a blessing, and there is nothing that we're ever going to do here at Israel Bonds that will not have his fingerprint on it. Not until now, not going forward, La'ol Me'ad. I'll ask everyone if we could please rise, we'll cite the memorial prayer. Shalom Alei Rachamim Shochein Bameromim Hamitzei Min Konakona Tagas Kanfei Hashechina B'ma'alos Kedoshim Utehorim Kzoar Orakia Masirim Es Nishmas Levi Yisrael Bendo Shehalach Li'olamo Bavo Shanachnu Mitzpalalim V'aras Karas Nishmaso B'Gahan Eden Tehei Menuchaso L'chein Balarachim Yasirehu, B'Sesganafav Li'Olamim, Yitzror, Bitzor HaChaim Es Nishmaso, Adonai Hu Nachalaso, Li'Anuach, B'Shalom Al Mishkavo, V'Nomar, Amen. God, full of mercy, dwells on high. Grant proper rest under the wings of the divine presence and the lofty levels of the holy and the pure ones, who shine like the golden firmament for the soul. Levi Shomedov, our dear friend and mentor, Lee Schwartz, who went on to his world, for we pray, remembers her of his soul. May his resting place be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the Master of Mercy shelter him in the shelter of his wings for eternity. May he bind his soul in the bond of life. Hashem is his heritage. May he repose in peace in his resting place. Let us all respond together. Amen. I will conclude this evening's program before our collation with the singing of Hatikva. Kol balev avtenima nefesh Yehudi homina ufatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. Oh, Lord, take Paterina, take Father, Shnat Alpayim, Liam Choshi, Belei Artzenu, Sion Yerushalayim. Lina Tamchoshi, Belea Artzenu, Virushalayim. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Please, you're invited into the ballroom for a light snack.